So shall we start with the efficiency module?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, guys. So we estimated that because we're talking about diversity, there might be some diverse founders, impact founders here in this talk who might have had some problems to get help or find capital. So as you can see, you can use the chat. And once you post something in the chat, then everybody can see your name and click on your profile and follow you. So you can also negotiate, talk to these guys later. I would recommend that every diverse or impact founder who's searching for any kind of help or money posts a quick sentence in the chat so that everybody else can see you. And then we might have some experienced founders, entrepreneurs, we might have some other people who can help, or some investors who might be interested in diversity, and then they can follow you and follow up with you later during this whole session. Cool.
Thanks a lot, Carolin. If you'd allow, I would quickly give a little bit of background how it actually came to this talk, because I think it's a relevant history. So the history is in preparation of the Project A Knowledge Conference. I used my LinkedIn profile to post a lot about it and to advertise the event, obviously. And I have put together lineups per functional area. One for marketing, what would I do on this Friday if I was a marketeer, leadership, etc. And I also did one for IT. And I was quite proud of our IT lineup. And I think content-wise, it's not too bad. And Carolin actually commented on it, pointing out in a friendly but direct way that it seems I have either forgotten to tag the women in this lineup, or there just aren't any. And based on that, we got into a discussion, and we decided to have this chat here today, because followed by this on LinkedIn, we actually had a call and we talked about the topic. And after some time, I think we said, let's make that a talk, a public discussion on the Knowledge Conference, because I think we both very much agree that this is important. And I have I don't consciously, or because I'm in any way against that, rather the opposite, because over the last years I always tried to support actually gender balance in general in the working world. It's a dear topic to me. And also, obviously, in IT, it works better in some areas, works less good in some others. And there we are. So we said, let's have this talk together. And by the way, Carolin is also holding another talk about cybersecurity that I very much recommend. And I know that our, unfortunately, overly male-heavy IT folks, but they are all very much looking forward also to see later.
But there are also more other women now I've seen, right? I'm very proud of you that you found some more. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So in general, I think and that's interesting, and maybe that's a good entry. If you look at our agenda and our program, it is far more balanced gender-wise than it is specifically in IT. We have basically out of, I think, 9 or 10 talks in IT, there's only one that is by a female CTO, Jules Coleman, really cool. Not sure where we are in the agenda at the moment, but if you still have the chance to watch that, Jules Coleman, she's a really great CTO of Resi, one of our investments in the UK. But that's it. Yeah. I mean, now there's you talking about cybersecurity, but that's very thin. And it's not that we decided we want to do that. We just didn't have them, to be honest. And we had it much easier in marketing, in a lot of other fields, but not in IT. What's your guess why that is?
So I can tell you from my perspective that for example, for my company, for the newest one, especially for Traction, I do all the IT stuff at the moment, like the internal back office setup and also the planning for our product and for our platform. But I avoid to call myself a CTO. And we even discussed that when we were writing our pitch deck, because for people, it's even hard to understand, especially for investors, that there's a female CEO which is more the management perspective, which might be easier to understand. And as a female CIO or CTO, that's something most people don't get together. Then it's getting even more complicated. So I try to avoid that. I think this is a thing, and it's there was an interesting idea on that, an interesting view on that from a telecom manager, a female telecom manager. We had in our Women in Cybersecurity event one day in Bonn, back 2 years, I think. And she was like, I think what most women don't understand is that, or don't fight too much for, is once you've reached a point where you, in the management level, you can make many decisions for yourself. You know, like, for example, we just talked before that you're bringing your son to kindergarten every morning. And some kindergartens start at 9, some might start at 9:15, or kids might have some questions or whatever. So if you, as a mother, for example, have a scheduled meeting every morning at 9 o'clock, it will totally stress you out bringing your kid to the kindergarten. When you are the manager, or you're the boss, or you're the CEO, CTO, whatever, you can schedule the meeting. So thinking about that, I think that we have to empower women, tell them that everything gets better once they're over this point, and then help them to achieve that quickly. Because another critical age for women, for example, is 30 years. Because around 30 years, many women start thinking about if they want to have children or not. And if they haven't reached the let's say, career level, where it's getting easier and where they have much more freedom and can manage things, afterwards it's getting more complicated.
Yeah. So that is actually, that's one of the things that we see. I mean, one thing is to be at a certain seniority level in order to take decisions. So you have to go there. And I think that's an interesting question. Maybe I start with this one. Do you think the number, and to be honest, I don't have the data, and as I know you have the data. Are there overall less women in tech? Or are there less women in tech leadership positions?
Both.
Okay.
The women in tech, the women in computer science. It's interesting data. It's an interesting data set. They have just gotten lost. Like when we think about the NASA project, how to go to the moon and whatever, there have been so many women involved compared to today. There have been, I think, when Melinda Gates started studying computer science, there have been 30% women in computer science. Computer science is worse today, and even computer engineering, which is, I think, is the more important part, because it's about like creating the future, not just coding for the future. In my studies, in my second studies, it was like around 5%. 5% attendees, zero female professors or
I studied pedagogy. I can tell you with us, it was the other way around. So because that's actually the second thing that I wanted to get to. I'm comparably old for the folks around here, 48. And the way I grew up in the 70s, going to school, etc., I sensed that gender equality, at least, was more, I wouldn't say given, but you wouldn't question if women do this or that job, if men do this or that, at least less. And I feel like in the 80s, probably into the 90s, we have taken a little bit of a cultural step backwards into more these so-called traditional roles. Do you see that the same, or is that just my impression?
No, there are also statistics on studies on that, and social media makes it even worse. Like when you think that the most liked 30% photos on Instagram show, let's say, half-naked sports influencers, kind of, that's putting much pressure on women, and it also gives them a role they think they should follow up with, which is crazy. And I think I don't use Instagram like other people do, because I also have the engineers, the robotics project and whatever there, and also the female coders and female entrepreneurs. But it's really hard to find them. Like I actively search for them to follow them and like ask my community where I can find such people. I estimate that a normal Instagram user, doesn't matter if male or female, sees a lot of people doing sports in bikinis, being on the beach, living the millionaire lifestyle, and that's it. Like not getting any other impression also on social roles.
So a situation that I saw more than once more than one stupid expression here. I believe that I see more often than exactly the same thing with twisted genders is women who are on a very good, great career track, and at decisive moments they decide to take care of their kids more than their boyfriends, husbands, partners, whatever, or they follow their boyfriends, husbands to a different city, different country because of their career. And the thing is, they do that even though they have the better career than their partner, but they still give in to follow the other one or take care of the kids. And as an employer, I'm in this situation where I want to tell them, don't do that. But on the other hand, as an employer, it's not my business to tell them what to do with their life. So on an individual level, I don't want to impose on them what they should do with their life. On a global level, I think this is causing to some degree, some of this imbalance that I don't want.
Yeah, I think it's not about telling another person how to organize their own life. It's more about supporting a person to make educated decisions on their own life. I think when we leave everything else out, and we just have a look at the point that women can give birth, if we have equality here, giving birth somewhere here, then this is the equality level. If we want equality without all these discussions and blaming people for it, and it's not women fighting against men, that's not what it's about. Yeah. But then you as an employer have to make sure that you organize some support over here on this level, so that women can get the same career and focus on it. Don't have to focus on 10 different times, but can focus on their career because they can be sure that somebody takes care of their kids, that their husband will not die because they will also be taken care of. This is the thing that you can do as an employer to give some support so that there is some certain level, some eye level with other male competitors.
Yeah. So in general, now you're an employer and I don't know, let's take, I know there's more to diversity than gender, but I mean, for the sake of the little time that we have, let's imagine we are really talking about men, women, tech.
Yeah.
And there are less women on the market, but I want to somehow a balanced team. What's your recommendation? What should I do? Should I just fight harder for the less that are there? Or should I pay them more? What should I do?
I think you have to talk to them. First of all, it's not just about men and women, but we have to see every person as an individual. And what got lost in HR processes and hiring processes over time is to talk to the person, be really interested and really caring towards this person, especially in those times now. And what I can totally recommend is not just to talk about qualification, but also about mental health and financial status. This is super important to most people, especially in 2020 now. And this is something where you can get an idea of the person, the commitment, or why the person can be 100% committed or maybe not. And then you can find a solution together. So you have to be very flexible as an employer and also focus more on the soft skills than on the pure process setup.
Okay. Maybe let me say one thing, because our time is almost up, and obviously that was extremely short now. So many talks go into Wonder, which is the next networking tool that we use here.
You can come to my security talk.
Exactly. Carolin has a security talk right after. I have a talk very, very soon. So we will not do that. But I would love if everybody who's listening here, and Carolin, you, and me, myself, and Natalia, we actually make that a little bit of a thing that is just kicked off now. And maybe we find different formats and carry that on over the next weeks, months, potentially years, and stick to that topic. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay. Any final words from anybody? And somebody wants to grab the mic. We still have 1 minute 36.
There is also, if you still have a couple of minutes, there's one question in the chat. But I think it's a really good one coming from Rebecca. And she's asking, that's more a question for you, Rainer, if gender equality is the focus topic that you're looking into within Project A, or if you're also looking into other dimensions of diversity and inclusivity.
So I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but at Project A, as part of our OKR system, we don't call it OKR because that's a different topic. We pick every half a year a focus topic, something where we as a whole, as a company, want to get better at. It can be sustainability, it can be data-drivenness. At the moment, it's mindfulness, and for half a year, it was also diversity. And we have run a number of initiatives during this half year. Obviously, the topic doesn't go away afterwards, but you give it a specific focus for some time. And that was focused on all aspects of diversity. But the truth is that we make that a lot out of the group of the employees. And I would say 8 or 9 initiatives out of 10 that were brought up were actually about gender equality.
That's cool. I have one more last word to the women around, and if you know some women, tell them to show up. They haven't learned it.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Sorry it was so short, and I hope that we continue with that in the future.